Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. This roller coaster of a season continues. The Giants allow 33 points in the fourth quarter after shutting out Denver through the first three quarters, which I think this goes down as the largest fourth quarter blown lead in NFL history. So the Giants entertain us. You have to give them that. They keep us entertained, and we don't know what's going to happen next, and usually it's bad. But coming off of a win versus Philly on a Thursday, extra rest for this game, a little bit of a rivalry coming into this game, which I don't think anybody expected, but the Nick Bonito comments or the tweet, and then Jonathan Cooper on his comments about Jackson Dart kind of downplaying him. For some reason, there was some beef before this game, and the Giants get up 19-0. The Broncos only had, I think, 102 offensive yards the first half of the game. The Giants were in control. They were playing a great team game overall. Jackson Dart looked fantastic, and I think outside of one really bad, really costly decision, Jackson Dart looked great in this game, but they just found a way to lose. I mean, the interception at the end, horrible. I think Cordell Flott's effort at the end of the game was horrible. The Evan Engram, I think it was a 19-yard catch down the sideline. He barely pushed him, and he stayed in balance, picked up an extra 10 yards or so. This was a good learning experience, I guess, for a team that's still pretty young for a first-year quarterback. But to have a lead going into the final 33 seconds, I mean, you just can't have that happen. And unfortunately, rather than being 3-4, the Giants are now 2-5, and it feels like any hope of them having a decent record this year, it might be over, because you look at, they're at Philly coming up next week. That's tough, as we know, and they almost lost again today, so who knows with that team. But regardless, a lot to cover in this historic blown lead. It's just crazy. I really thought they were going to win this game. Like, when it was 19-0, luckily I didn't, tweet anything out and say, oh, great game, or, this one's over, but just the fact that it ended up this way is pretty insane. So, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that that's what this organization does, but still, I mean, when you're up by that many points and Denver looked lifeless offensively, and the Giants were playing great team ball on both sides, there was really no concern, I feel like. I mean, of course, Denver had that lucky bounce with the Troy Franklin touchdown, and then the Giants got a lucky bounce to Theo Johnson. After Theo Johnson scored that touchdown, which that happened with 10 minutes and 22 seconds left, and the Giants went up 26-8. When that happened, I kind of assumed to myself, I was like, all right, they probably won this game. There's no way Denver is making this comeback. And then, of course, they just have some dumb mental errors with the interception, and I think some just really bad defense by certain individuals, and things like this happen. So, I mean, there's that tweet going around that NFL teams had won 1,602 straight games leading by 18 plus points in the final 6 minutes. The Giants were up 26-8 with 6 minutes to go, which I am fact checking that is true, because when they went down 26-16, there was 5 minutes 19 seconds left. So now the Giants are the first team in over 1,600 NFL games to blow an 18-plus point lead in the final 6 minutes. Because you figure at that point, right, 18 plus points is a 3-possession game. So the fact that you have to hold a team scoreless on their next 2 or 3 possessions, and you have to score on all 3 of your next possessions and have enough time in 6 minutes to make all that happen, you just don't see it every day. And it takes an interception or something crazy like that to happen. And that's pretty much it. If they don't throw the interception, then I don't want to make it seem like I'm blaming Dart for the game, because without Dart, they're not even in this game. But without that one bad throw where, his legs were getting taken out, so I'm sure that impacted the throw. But without that one interception, we're probably here talking about a win and talking about that's back-to-back great wins and keep building on that, maybe push for the playoffs. But instead, we have to sit here and talk about another heartbreaking, inexcusable loss and talk about why Shane Bowen is the worst and how Brian Dable won't be back next year and things like that, which I don't think we're going to have that conversation today. We'll save that for another time, but still, those topics do come up again with every loss, and especially a loss like this. If they had, if it was opposite and they were down 30-7 at halftime and they made a comeback and fell short by a point, you'd be like, all right, understandable. But the fact that it happened like this, I mean, you just cannot have that. And then the kicking situation on top of it, Jude McAdamy, all right, I don't want to see this guy in my life ever again. It was nice. He played well the last 2 weeks, but I think he missed an extra point last week too. He went 2 for 4 on extra points today. You lose by 1 point, so that's the difference right there. Just shit that should be routine. I know this is not the extra point of old where it was like only 17 yards. Like, yeah, this is a bit further, of course. It's now 33 yards, I believe extra points are, but you still can't miss 2 in a freaking game. Like, if you miss 1 of 4, like, all right, I get it, but you can't miss 2 out of 4 extra points. You just can't. So I expect to see Younghoe Koo or someone, Rodrigo Blankenship, I don't know, give me a different kicker, because you just can't lose like that. So, of course, yeah, a lot to go over. Of course, leave a like, subscribe, all that, and let's get into it. Over to the box score for Jackson Dart, 15 of 33, so that was probably his worst completion percentage of the year if I had to guess. 3 touchdowns, 283 passing yards, the 1 interception, 4 sacks taken in this game. I would say overall the guy played really well. I mean, to have a fourth quarter comeback like that. Now, obviously, they should have just closed out the game. It should not have came down to that. But to have that drive and to have, what was it, 4th and 19, the throw across his body to Wan'Dale Robinson to pick up the first down, that was unbelievable. And yes, there was a roughing the passer anyway, so it would not have mattered. But to make that throw in that situation is insane. Now, yeah, Jackson Dart on that final drive probably should have lost the game 2 other times, because there was the one where Pat Surtain baited him and Surtain got like hit by his teammate and he could have intercepted it, so that could have been a pick. And then the one post route deep to Bo Collins late in the game where 2 Broncos ran into each other and that fell to the ground. So like that could have been 2 plays on the final drive where Jackson Dart probably should have thrown an interception. But I would say like the only thing that I guess bothered me with Dart in this game was the deep accuracy stuff wasn't great. There were probably 2 or 3 balls underthrown. I think one of them caused a pass interference, which was the late Bo Collins one that Sean Payton ran down to the end zone to argue about. So that was underthrown. The Bo Collins post route that almost got picked, that was underthrown. And there might have been another one I'm forgetting now. But yeah, some underthrown balls. And then there was an overthrow too, the Jalen Hyatt, which that would have been great if Jalen Hyatt ran in a touchdown to win the game on the road there in a tough environment. But anything from like 30 yards in this game, I thought Dart looked really good. There might have been a couple that were like a tiny bit off. There was one, I think, in the first quarter where Theo Johnson sat down in zone and the throw was a bit off to his right. So like, all right, some small stuff. But I think for the most part, the guy played with a lot of heart in this game. He had the comeback, and he made some very impressive throws. Like the first touchdown to Bellinger, which went 44 yards. Yes, the defense lost him, but the fact that he was able to bounce around in that pocket for like 5 seconds and just buy Bellinger time to sneak behind the defense, basically, that's Jackson Dart. Like, that's him buying extra time. Like, I feel like with previous quarterbacks we've had here, they would have panicked and threw the ball away or something, or just took off and ran. But Jackson Dart's ability to extend the play, it allowed Daniel Bellinger to get downfield and get behind the entire defense, and it was pretty much an easy walk-in touchdown. And then rushing-wise, Jackson Dart was 5 carries for 11 yards. So this was definitely like by far his like worst rushing game. Did have a rushing touchdown, which at first was called down at the 1, got overturned to a touchdown. And there were, I think there was only one injury scare with him. There were a few guys down today with the Giants. There was Javon Holland, Paulson Adebo, there was Brian Burns, Jackson Dart. So some big name guys that were going down hurt. I think Javon Holland never came back. I don't think Adebo came back either. Like they said on the broadcast, he was on the bike, but I don't think he ever came back because they were playing Deonte Banks on the final drive. So I assume if he was healthy, there's no way they're putting Deonte Banks in the game. And then, of course, Brian Burns came back, but he had a costly penalty on the final drive too. Anyway, other rushers on the team, Cam Scatteraboo, like, we love the guy, but another, like, pretty inefficient game. 16 carries, 60 yards, 3.8 a carry, no touchdowns, but did have a receiving touchdown on that screen. That was a well-designed play, like a misdirection screen. Tyrone Tracy, his final numbers look really good because of that long touchdown run. 9 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. And how long was his touchdown? 31 yards. So if you take that one run away from Tracy, he really did not do much in this game. But that was a massive play. And I really think anyone watching this video probably, I don't know if we would have had the speed to find the end zone, but that hole that was opened up on the Tracy touchdown was insane. Andrew Thomas on the left side there sealed that one off perfectly. I think another receiver was blocking on that play as well. So that's one of those plays where just everything opened up, and Tyrone Tracy is obviously fast enough to outrun most defensive linemen, so that was an easy one. And then receiving wise, I mean, we saw some great stuff from a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson. 6 catches, 95 yards, huge catch on the 4th down and 19 at the end of that game, converted some big first downs. Theo Johnson, 3 catches, 66 yards. Now, most of his damage was on the 41-yard touchdown, which bounced off of Wan'Dale's hands and into the hands of Theo Johnson, which is, it's just crazy how that happened for Denver and then like 5 minutes later happened for the Giants. It's actually crazy that that happened and they still lost the game. But Daniel Bellinger pretty much did all of his work in the first half. 3 catches, 88 yards, had that long touchdown, of course, and Scatterboo had the 3 catches, 34 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Lil Jordan Humphrey did not have a catch in this game after having a pretty nice game last time out. It was like 5 catches for 67 yards or something last week. This time, though, no catches. He did have 1, but the play was blown dead because of a delay of game, I think it was. So he did Riley Moss, which is, it's a play on words right there. But yeah, he mossed Riley Moss, but it was called back because of a delay of game. Of course, Jalen Hyatt and Bo Collins had targets. The Hyatt one was overthrown. Bo Collins did technically draw a pass interference, so we'll take that. And I thought offensive line-wise, they did a good job. Like Denver's defense coming into this game, their pass rush was great. Yeah, they got to Jackson Dart 4 times, but I think maybe a couple times that was on Dart for just running around too much and trying to make something happen. Like, I don't think the offensive line was that bad in this game. I think one funny part was that pretty much it felt like half of the passing plays that Jermaine Illuminor was leaving early. Like, I don't know what was happening there. And I know Nick Bonito is like crazy fast and you have to be prepared for that, but it's just weird that it felt like literally on half the passing plays that Illuminor left early and they only called him like 1 time for it. So, I mean, I'll take that. But yeah, watching the game from the broadcast view, I did not think the offensive line was that bad. I guess the running lanes could have been a bit better, but it still wasn't that bad. And then defensively, you had Brian Burns have 2 sacks. He now leads the NFL, I believe. There were a lot of passes knocked down in this game. I have to bring that up as well, which I have in my notes section, of course, but there were like 5 different guys who batted down the ball at the line of scrimmage. Brian Burns was one. Roy Robertson Harris was another. Dexter Lawrence was another. Darius Alexander and Raheem Nunez Roches. Like all 5 of those guys had a pass knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Now, unfortunately, none of them were batted up for interceptions, but I feel like at least a couple of those might have saved the first down on a slant or something like that. Drew Phillips had 9 solo tackles. You like that. 1 tackle for a loss, but just had some dumb and really low effort moments in this game. Like, Drew Phillips is, I can't remember a player that I loved and hated more than Drew Phillips. Not that I hate the guy, it's just an expression, but I feel like there's times with Drew Phillips where I'm like, this guy's a freaking dog, he's awesome. And then there's times where you're like, bro, like, why are you not giving effort? Why are you grabbing the guy and getting a dumb penalty? Like, it's so up and down with him. So I like what he's done here. I think he's been a positive, but there's so many mental errors and even lack of hustle at time. There was the play, I think, against Kansas City where some people picked up that he just quit on that play. I think it was a rushing touchdown to Kareem Hunt. So technically he wasn't in on that play, but there was still like, this guy's quitting on the field. What are we doing here? So that happened. So it's like Drew Phillips, I like him, but he also annoys me at times too. Like there are some mental errors and sometimes there are some effort questions with him. Dane Belton had 10 tackles total. He filled in for Javon Holland, who missed like half the game. 6 solo tackles for Dane Belton. He had 1 moment in coverage that wasn't great. It was Cortland Sutton on the 2-point conversion on the out route, where Dane Belton was like no match for Cortland Sutton, obviously, so not the fairest matchup there. Cordell Flott played a nice game. 2 passes defended, had a tackle for a loss. I thought he looked really good. Like, he was the best corner out there in this game. I mean, obviously Surtain is the best one because the Giants really did not throw his way. They threw his way like twice, I feel like, so they smartly avoided going to that side of the field. But I thought Flott played a nice game. Bobby Okereke, he had a couple moments. He had a nice moment in coverage in this game at one point. He had a very good run stop on J.K. Dobbins. No, I think that was R.J. Harvey. He came up and met one of the Denver running backs at the line of scrimmage. It was a great tackle by Okereke, so he looked all right out there. I was not like annoyed by Bobby in this game. Muasau made a couple nice plays in this one. Tyler Nubin, not much. I feel like he might have got hurt too. I forget. I didn't hear it on the broadcast, but I feel like he wasn't playing at the end, but I could be wrong. Dexter Lawrence, a quiet game. Only one tackle, had one pass knocked down once again. Deonte Banks. Now, I didn't see who Cortland Sutton caught that final catch on. It was a 22-yarder down the left sideline to get them in the field goal range. It was like the final play from scrimmage. That might have been on Deonte Banks. I did not see. It was either Banks or Drew Phillips. I forget now, but leave in the comments because I guess I forgot to look at who it was. By that point, I think I was in a lot of disbelief that this was really happening, so I just didn't see it. Abdul Carter, I mean, his highlight from the game was being down hurt and then heard someone talking shit to him on the Denver offensive line and get right back up and start jawing at them. So like that was pretty funny. But he did have one nice pressure in this game. I forget what happened on that play, but I know it was a positive play for the Giants. I know that. So I wrote that one down in my notes section as well. Darius Alexander had a tackle, knocked down that pass. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, we'll go through the game now, go through the important parts and really where my mind was during the game, because as I said, I really thought this one was over, and the fact that we're still here talking about a loss is it's hard to really take that in, because I just really thought, like I wrote down in my notes at one point that the Giants rode a losing streak, which I believe was 8 straight games, had come to an end, and now I have to delete that because obviously that has not came to an end. All right, so the Giants' first 3rd and 4 offensively went for 15 yards. It was called offsides actually, but Daniel Bellinger picked up 15 yards. I thought on that play they were going to get Illuminor for leaving early once again, but that was not the case. It turned out that the guy across from him was actually offsides. There was a 3rd and 7 Denver design blitz, or disguise blitz, not design, disguise blitz. The ball got batted at the line. The Giants had the punt. On Denver's first drive, Muasau and Adebo, they teamed up for a big hit on Cortland Sutton. Adebo kind of like pushed Sutton into Muasau, who then like put him in the air, and Cortland Sutton could not hang on, so that fell incomplete. And then Bo Nix tried to roll out to his right, being chased by Brian Burns and Abdul Carter. He threw it deep out of bounds to the right, so the Giants forced a punt there on the Broncos' first drive. Scatterboo next drive had an 8-yard pitch off the right tackle, went for 8 yards. Then there was a bunch formation on a 3rd and 2, and Jackson Dart threw it a bit out of reach to Scatterboo. I was not the biggest fan of that play call. Like, that was kind of dumb, I feel like. But then again, you are playing a good defensive line who gets a lot of sacks, and you want to get the ball out fast, so I do understand it, but I wasn't a big fan. Next drive, the 14-yard sweep to Marvin Mims. This was one where Brian Burns almost had him wrapped up in the backfield, so it could have been like a 2-yard loss, but then Marvin Mims got loose, picked up an extra 14 yards on that play. That was a bit frustrating. Cordell Flott made a really nice open field tackle on RJ Harvey on a swing pass. That was a tackle for a loss. Then Cortland Sutton ran a comeback route on Paulson Adebo, but he caught it 2 yards short, and Denver, who was deep in their own territory, had to punt. Then we had the really, I guess, dangerous throw, but it was a really good one, as Jackson Dart, rolling to his right, threw across his body towards the middle of the field to Wan'Dale Robinson, which picked up 23 yards, and it perfectly went over the defender's outstretched arms, and Wan'Dale Robinson jumped up and fell on his back and caught the ball, so it ended up working out. But when Jackson Dart released that ball, I was like, I don't know about that one, but it actually works, so we'll take that. Then, of course, on that drive, Jackson Dart danced in the backfield. Bellinger leaks out deep and has a 44-yard touchdown. That was the first touchdown for Bellinger since 2022, his rookie season, so he went 2 full seasons without one, so welcome back to the end zone for Daniel Bellinger. Then we had, on the ensuing kickoff, the Bobby Rainey play, if any of you remember that from the 2016 Giants-Packers playoff game. But Bobby Rainey, instead of letting the kickoff go out of bounds and getting the ball at the 40-yard line, he catches the ball and walks out of bounds at the 6-yard line. So awful special teams play by the rookie. Okereke, as I mentioned before, had this great run stop on RJ Harvey on a toss. There was no gain. Marvin Mims, wide receiver screen, went for 13 yards. Drew Phillips could not get off his block, as well as Paulson Adebo. Brian Burns got a sack on Bo Nix as he rolled to his right. This was a weird play because in 9 out of 10 cases, maybe even more, the quarterback will either throw the ball out of bounds or just try to juke out the edge rusher coming at him. And Brian Burns was pretty much coming directly at Bo Nix, and he basically just ran into the sack. It was really weird, so I don't know what happened there. And Bo Nix is a pretty mobile guy, as we could see, so I'm not sure what happened, but Brian Burns gets the sack. Drew Phillips had a fantastic tackle on a Marvin Mims screen. It was a loss of 2. Next drive for the Giants, they went 3 and out. This was the drive where Theo Johnson was sitting down in zone, and I think Jackson Dart may have missed him. I guess it could have been caught, but it was a tough one. Broncos' next drive, a 3rd and 6, gets batted down at the line of scrimmage by Dexter Lawrence, so Denver had the punt. Next Giants drive, this was a good one. So a 17-yard gain to Wan'Dale Robinson on an out route that got the first down. Scadaboo got 13 yards on the next play. He spun out of a tackle, and he easily could have went out of bounds on this play, I remember, but I feel like whether it was the trash talk before the game or just his mentality as a football player, Scadaboo was like, nah, we are not going out of bounds, so he decides to spin off of one guy and put his head into another guy and picked up like an extra 5 yards. So yeah, it probably didn't make the biggest difference, but still, I mean, you love guys that rather than going out of bounds, they're going to try and get every last yard they can out there. Bellinger was left wide open to gain 29 yards down the right sideline. I guess it was a pretty smart play call because he was lined up on the same side of the field as a guy that was also going deep. It might have been like Lil Jordan Humphrey or something. So he occupied those defenders, and they kind of just leaked out Bellinger behind him, and he was left wide open down the right sideline. So a 29-yard gain. Then Jackson Dart had that great corner route throw to Bellinger at the corner of the first pylon, and it hit off of Bellinger's, I think, left hand, and maybe he could have caught it. Based on the replay, like first watching it, I thought he just dropped it, but when you watch the replay, it was like, that's a really tough catch. So I don't want to say that Bellinger dropped the ball, but I guess there was a chance it could have been caught, but I still think it was like maybe a tiny bit overthrown. But regardless, I thought it was a very good throw by Jackson Dart. Benito had an offsides to make it 3rd and 1. Jackson Dart had a quarterback sneak on 4th and inches. He ended up getting it, and then the Giants did this Statue of Liberty handoff that I don't think we've seen this since the Giants' last playoff game, or I guess the last playoff win against the Vikings when Daniel Jones was pretend my phone is the football, where he did the fake throwing motion and then hand off the ball behind his back. We saw Jackson Dart do that in this game. The play went for 6 yards. It was pretty awesome. So that's something we have not seen Brian Daboll cook up in a while. There was a misdirection screen to Scadaboo that picked up 11 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 blockers out in front of him, both guards, Runyon and GVR. The extra point by McAdamy was no good. That's a foreshadow for later, of course. So 13-0 Giants at this point. Javon Holland then goes down with the injury. Abdul Carter had a great wrap-up on J.K. Dobbins. He had no gain, and I think that was the play Abdul Carter went down with the injury. The Broncos had an easy first down, but the fullback dropped it. I remember this play. Bo Nix was rolling to his right. The fullback was in the flat. He pretty much tried to turn upfield before catching the ball. It was a concentration drop, but Denver still went for it on 4th and 3, and Bo Nix ran for the first down. I think the play was designed to go up the middle, but Bo Nix bounced it to the left side, so he got the first down. Cordell Flott had good coverage on, I always want to say Denzel Mims, but it's Marvin Mims. I think Denzel Mims was that Jets guy who flamed out in like 2 years. But yeah, Mims had this ball. It looked like for a second he was going to make this insane one-handed catch on a deep post route, but it was able to be broken up by Cordell Flott. Then there was a deep crosser on a play action. It was Paulson Adebo on Cortland Sutton. Not the best coverage. He gained 32 yards, got down to the 5-yard line. Then Garrett Bowles was wide open, the left tackle, for a touchdown. Bo Nix completely missed him. I'm not sure how the Giants defense even allowed him to get that open, because like literally before the snap, the referee was like, I think he's number 72. They're like, 72 is now eligible as a receiver. Literally that same play, the eligible receiver leaks out wide open, and Bo Nix luckily missed him, so that didn't work. Then the Broncos go for it on 4th and goal. I think it was 13-0 at this point. Yeah, so I was kind of surprised they were being this greedy. I think they were 3 yards out from the end zone. It was 4th and goal, but I figured they would take the points and make it 13-3. But they try a quick screen to Cortland Sutton, but Dame Belton, of all people, blows up the play, and it's a turnover on downs. That was a great play for the Giants defense in this game. Giants had a 3rd and and 10 in their own end zone. There was a big defensive holding call against Wan'Dale Robinson. That was an automatic first down for the Giants. Then on third down that drive, the Broncos sent an A-gap blitz. Jackson Dart had to throw it in the dirt basically because there just wasn't enough time, and I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson even broke out of his route yet, so that was a good defensive play call. Brian Burns gets his 9th sack and 2nd of the game. He did a great job following Bo Nix on this play. I remember this now because Bo Nix was deep in his drop, and then he started stepping up, and I think Brian Burns perfectly just saw it all happening and just kind of looped around the tackle because there was a bit of a stunt or a loop around going on there. So Brian Burns was able to get Bo Nix for the easy sack there. That was a great play by Brian Burns and just really nice recognition. So then we go into halftime. The Giants are up 13-0. Denver once again 102 yards of total offense at halftime. The Giants defense coming out of halftime, they were showing some flaws, but right when you thought Denver was really going to do something, Cordell Flott made this great play in coverage where Troy Franklin ran a corner route to the left, and it looked like Franklin was going to catch it, and then Cordell Flott came off of his guy, went to Troy Franklin, and was able to punch the ball out before it was even completed. So that was a great play by Cordell Flott there. Then Flott was covering Franklin again, this time on a deep pass that was overthrown, and Denver had the punt. So that drive at first for the Giants defense, the first drive for Denver in the third quarter, it was looking bad at first, but then Cordell Flott made a couple of awesome plays. And once again, he played a great game. Denver's defense on the next Giants drive had another defensive penalty. They had a lot of those in this game. There was a Wan'Dale Robinson slant. This was the one where I think it was their rookie first round pick had his left arm around Wan'Dale's waist, and they called the flag there. Jackson Dart hit Theo Johnson on a crosser on 3rd and 4. It was a 19-yard gain. There was definitely a miscommunication in Denver's defense. He was wide open. There was a 3rd and 12. This was a great play. So 3rd and 12, they run a little screen, I guess you can call it, to Wan'Dale Robinson. He just kind of leaks out in front of the offensive line, and he has a bunch of blockers in front of him, and I think Wan'Dale's initial reaction was to try and get as many yards as he can up the middle, because obviously it's better to go north and south and east and west, but he was able to bounce out of a tackle and run for the first down. So he was able to pick up 12 or 13 yards on this play, and there was a face mask on Riley Moss, which picked up 15 more yards. So this was a great 3rd and 12 play call. You get all the blockers out in front of Wan'Dale Robinson, see what he could do, and it worked. Then Jackson Dart got sacked. He came up limping on his left ankle, but he stayed in the game, but the Giants had the punt. Bo Nix then fumbled on a read option with J.K. Dobbins, but he picked up his own fumble, so they lost a yard on that play. Nacho was able to deflect a pass at the line once again, and Evan Engram had a drop, and that was a 3-and-out. Now, the Engram drop, which we have seen plenty of those as Giants fans, and I liked Engram. I don't want to shit on the guy, but we did see quite a few of those with the Giants, unfortunately. But this play to Engram, it definitely would have still been short. It was 3rd and 11, and it was probably going to pick up 5 yards. So not the biggest drop, but it might have helped you a bit with punting the ball a little further, but yeah, not the worst drop in the world. There was a 3rd and 1 handoff to Tyrone Tracy. He had some good extra effort, got the first down there. 2nd and 6, there was a 31-yard touchdown to Tyrone Tracy once again out of, I think it was a pistol formation. Andrew Thomas, great seal on that block, and at this point, it's 19-0. You're thinking the Giants are going to win this game pretty easily. They have to go for 2 because of the previous missed extra point with McAdamy. They try a 2-point conversion to Wan'Dale Robinson. He was close to getting it, but just fell a bit short. So instead of being a 21-0 lead, it was 19-0. Then we find out Paulson Adebo with a knee injury. He was questionable to return. I don't think he came back in. There was a toss to the left for J.K. Dobbins, 32-yard pickup. Roy Robertson Harris had a near interception on a Bo Nix rollout. This play, I believe they were right near the end zone. So if Roy Robertson Harris was able to intercept this ball, I don't think he would have been able to run it back 95 yards for a touchdown, but it would have been a show to see a guy of his size try to run an entire football field for a touchdown. But unfortunately, he was not able to come up with it, so that would have been a massive play. And that was also a play where Abdul Carter had pressure. So as I said earlier before, before when talking about Carter, there was another play he caused pressure and something good happened. That was the play, and that was almost a great interception by Roy Robertson Harris. Then we had the stupid ricochet deflection touchdown to Troy Franklin, which that should not have happened, but the Giants have awful luck sometimes, and that's just how it goes. Sutton had a 2-point conversion on Dane Belton. I talked about that play earlier. So that made it 19-8. That was the first time the Broncos found the end zone, and that didn't happen until there was 14 minutes and 14 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So once again, Denver was completely scoreless in the first three quarters, and if you see the box score of this game, it's insane. To see the Giants in the first three quarters score 7, 6, and 6. Denver was 0-0-0, and then in the fourth quarter, the Giants scored 13 points, and you're thinking that should be enough, but Denver somehow scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. It is just wild to see that. So Jackson Dart hits Wandale over the middle for a 14-yard gain. That was a big play. It just kept, it got you a new set of downs. It kept the clock moving. By this point in the game, I think the Giants are a bit concerned about trying to waste as much time as they can. Scadaboo had an 18-yard run. He ran between Illuminor and Greg Van Roten, and I think on the broadcast they were saying that they thought that Scadaboo kind of got lost by the Broncos defense because it seemed like for a second nobody knew where he was. So he did a great job of getting low and just getting right between those two guys and picking up a bunch of yards, 18 yards once again. There was a 41-yard touchdown off of Wandale's hands. He should have caught the ball, by the way, but he did something even better. He deflected it perfectly to his tight end, and Theo Johnson runs it in untouched for a 41-yard touchdown. At this point, it's 26-8 Giants, and I'm sure many of you watching assume this one was over. I thought maybe there was a tiny chance the Broncos came back, because once again, I wasn't victory lapping yet or anything like that, but it still should have been over. I do want to see their win percentage on ESPN. I think they do that still. Oh, here we go. They do have it. All right. So the Giants were, oh my Lord. There's a few different moments here. I'm trying to find the highest one. The Giants at one point, believe it or not, had a 99.8% chance of winning this game. That's hard to believe. It's not hard to believe, but it's hard to believe they lost the game. On multiple occasions, they had, even in the late fourth quarter after Dart scored, they had an 89.3% chance of winning the game, but a lot of times throughout the early and mid-fourth quarter, they were at 98%, 99%, just 97%, just so many opportunities to put this freaking game away, and of course, we know what happened, but that's unbelievable. Anyway, so 26-8, Kayvon Thibodeau forces a holding call on Garrett Bowles. Burns bats down a pass. That was the Giants' fourth one of the day, and Brian Burns limped off on that play. Drew Phillips had a pass interference, and I thought the pass was a little bit high, but still, NFL refs don't really seem to care if the ball's catchable or not half the time, which annoys me. Then Darius Alexander tips a ball down at the line. That was the fifth time today that it happened. Bo Nix was able to run in for a touchdown, 7 yards. Troy Franklin had a 2-point conversion back of the end zone. So now it's 26-16, getting closer, but there's still 5 minutes and 19 seconds left. You're up by 10 points. I'm still thinking, all right, we're in a good spot here. I'm not all that concerned. But then the horrible interception happens. The Giants try to run the ball the first two plays, doesn't go too well. Jackson Dart gets his legs tangled as he's about to throw. He's looking for Theo Johnson on a medium crosser, and it gets intercepted. And that is when the entire game changed. It looked like at first it might have been a pick six, but they were able to stop the defender. I forget who it was. It was Justin Stranad, I think is how you pronounce it. So they get the ball on the Giants' 19-yard line, and of course this was the big touchdown run for... Actually, no, that was a different drive. So Kayvon Thibodeau has an offsides. The Broncos got a first and goal at the 9-yard line. Play action touchdown to RJ Harvey. Bobby Okereke couldn't get over there in time, and I like Harvey. He's a good player, a really good receiver. So, he's had some up and down moments as a rookie, but still. So he scores to make it 26-23, but the Giants still have the ball back in their hands. 3 minutes, 45 seconds to go. There was a toss to the left to Scadaboo for no gain. He got caught from behind by a defensive tackle. It was DJ Jones. Handoff behind the right guard, it gained 2 yards. Denver had to use their final timeout. So once again, there's still 3 minutes to go. There's 3 minutes and 1 second left. Denver uses their final timeout. So 3rd and 8, 2 minutes, 56 seconds to go. Giants on their own 30. And rather than trying to just pick up a simple first down, they go very deep for Wan'Dale Robinson, who Dart overthrows. And once again, I think the one bad part about Jackson Dart in this game, besides the obvious bad interception, was the deep accuracy. Because between this Wan'Dale throw, the Hyatt overthrow, the underthrows, there were some bad misses in terms of throwing the ball past like 30 yards. Now, I do like he's willing to take those chances because we've had quarterbacks in the past that just are not willing to throw the ball deep. But the fact is they have to be more accurate. I do have to be honest there. Marvin Mims gained 32 yards down the right sideline. It was bad positioning by Drew Phillips on this play. Evan Engram had a bubble screen for 19 yards. And once again, he gained way too many yards on this play. And this was, at this point, I'm thinking they might actually lose this game. This is when it kind of started to sink in. And the effort by Drew Phillips on this Evan Engram catch was pathetic. Like, they showed a replay and he was barely pushing him. And I think the Giants defenders thought that Engram was going to go out of bounds, but Engram at least was smart enough to realize that after this play, it was the 2-minute warning. So the clock is stopping regardless. So rather than just getting out of bounds after 7-8 yards, he just turns upfield and gets 12 more yards. It's like you just can't give a team free yards like that. Knicks had a quarterback run off the left tackle for an 18-yard touchdown. I thought there might have been a hold on that play. I forget who it was on, but it looked like maybe it was the left tackle on a hold, but I would have to go back and watch it. I was kind of just hoping that we would see Nick celebrating and see a flag pop up, but that never happened. So now it's 30-26. Denver is winning the game. Zach Allen had a sack for a 4-yard loss. Jalen Hyatt, deep post route. Jackson Dart barely overthrew it. Then there was a delay of game to make a 3rd and 14 into a 3rd and 19. There was a near interception in triple coverage. That was the play on 3rd down and long where it seemed like Pat Surtain kind of baited Dart into making that throw, but he got away with it. Then on 4th and 19, this was a massive play. Once again, the game could have ended right here. 4th and 19, Dart throws across his body, does a good job moving around in the pocket as he always does, and he was able to find Wan'Dale Robinson for a first down, and there was roughing the passer. It seemed like on the broadcast view, he was maybe half a yard short of the first down line, but the line on TV was a bit off. It was a tiny bit behind the actual marker, so I do think Wan'Dale didn't actually get the first down. Then later, there was a deep shot to Bo Collins that was very underthrown, and that was the deep post to Bo Collins, and that was another one that should have been intercepted, but two Broncos ran into each other, so the Giants got lucky there. There was a rollout, deep throw to Bo Collins. It was underthrown, but there was a pass interference. The Giants got the ball at the 1-yard line. Sean Payton got penalized as well because he came all the way on the field and ran down to the 2-yard line basically and started complaining to the refs. So Giants ball on the 1, Jackson Dart design run. They called him short at first. Replay overturned it. Jackson Dart, historic vintage moment for the Giants right here. He scores a game-winning go-ahead touchdown with 37 seconds to go, and it's man, what can't this rookie do? 4th and 19, that should have been the talking point going into tomorrow, was how Jackson Dart saved the Giants from an epic collapse. Now, of course, there was too much time left, and I tweeted this before, which I think I made a terrible grammar error on this tweet, but I'll try to explain it. So, when Jackson Dart scored, I'm trying to watch this play now. When Jackson Dart scored on 1st and goal, there were 40 seconds to go. The Giants had 4 downs to get in the end zone. Denver had no timeouts left. So in my mind, and this is my Madden brain kind of speaking to me here, because I know what I'm about to say is not realistic, but based on how the game played out, I kind of wish the Giants did this. I personally wish they had just taken a knee, right? Kneel down at the 2-yard line. Then call their final timeout with 20 seconds to go. And then take 3 shots at the end zone. And maybe you don't get in, but 3 shots to go 2 yards, I think they can do that. But I also understand wanting to score right away. I understand it completely. I wasn't too mad about it, but I was trying to maybe overthink it because I'm thinking you don't want to leave Denver with too much time. I've seen this play out before. We saw it with the Cowboys game. We saw it with the Jets game a couple years back when they were trying to tank for Drake May. We've seen this before where the Giants will leave too much time for somebody. And it's not just the Giants. Teams do this all the time. But at this point with 40 seconds to go. I'm like, that's still too much. And I mean, Will Lutz is a good kicker and high altitude. Like, you're thinking if they even get over like the 40, there's a chance Will Lutz is making it. Maybe even like the 45 or something. Like, he could make one from very far. So part of me was like, I kind of want to just chew off like 20 more seconds and get down to only 20 seconds left. But the Giants decided to score right here, and Jackson Dart runs it in. And I guess part of me was, once again, kind of low-key hoping that maybe they would just call him down short. But after review, Jackson Dart did cross the plane, and he got the touchdown. So it is what it is. And I know I'm kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking it, but I did have that thought in live time. I'm like, you don't want to score too fast. Like, you don't want to score on the first play. That, of course, gave Denver enough time to come back. The Giants kick team did a good job. They held Denver to the 23-yard line, so not a big return. But then Marvin Mims over the middle of the field. It was Marvin Mims and Courtland Sutton in like the middle of the field. There were a couple Giants in the area, but Marvin Mims caught a 29-yard pass over the middle. They're able to get up to the line. They're all sprinting. They spiked the ball. There was also a neutral zone infraction on Brian Burns because he did not jog back fast enough. So that adds 5 more yards. Then Courtland Sutton on the left sideline has that 22-yard catch, which I think was on Deonte Banks. Once again, I could be wrong. I forgot to look at who it was. But he gains 22 yards. I think Sutton thought he was out of bounds because for like half a second he was celebrating. But then he was like, oh shit, I got to run to the line of scrimmage and put the ball down. So they do all that. They spike the ball with 2 seconds to go, and Will Lutz is set up for a 39-yard field goal. The snap exchange was not perfect. I thought for a second the Broncos might have effed it up, but they got the kickoff, and it was good from 39 yards, and the Giants blow this ridiculous lead, which should not have happened. Adam Schefter also said that the Broncos' 33 fourth quarter points were the most points in the fourth quarter by any team that had been shut out in the first 3 quarters in NFL history. So that could also include like a garbage time game or something. So yeah, I mean, this was, once again, a historic game. You're probably not going to see one like this for a very long time. And the Giants tend to be a part of these for the wrong reasons a lot. So that's not good. And I don't want to do the whole like, oh, Brian Dable should be fired thing. I don't want to do all that because, once again, Jackson Dart looks good. That's the main part of this season. This season's not about wins and losses. And I guess a game like this, it comes with the growing pains, and you hope that in the future nothing like this ever happens again. But it also sucks because they should really be 3-1 with Jackson Dart as their starter, or maybe even 4-0, because if they don't have 5 turnovers in New Orleans, they probably win that game too. So they really should have won every game that Jackson Dart has started, and of course they should have won back in week 2. So there's a lot of what ifs with this Giants season, and just things have not really gone their way. And it's unfortunate. I mean, yeah, they're a bad team and you are what your record says you are, but I don't think the Giants are that bad. They shouldn't be 2-5 bad. Like, really where I think they should be at is probably like 3-4. I think they should have an extra win in there. I do. So I know you are what your record says you are. They're 2-4, 2-5 now, but I feel like they're a little better than that. And you think about some of the games they blew this year, and this one being at the forefront of it, it's pretty bad. So next week they're at Philly, 1 o'clock game. Philly is favored by 7 right now. The Giants, of course, beat them 10 days ago, so they'll be 17 days removed from that game, and I'm sure the Eagles will want to get their get back. And the Giants have not won in Philly since, I think, 2013 still, so it's a long shot, but something about the Giants does feel a bit different with Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart, taking over and kind of making it their team. So things feel a bit different, and I do think the Giants will compete in that game, but I don't expect Philly to blow them out, but I would expect Philly to win the game. And then coming up, you have tough teams, of course, San Francisco, who, yes, they're very banged up, and I guess you can beat them coming over from the West Coast to play a 1 o'clock game, and you're at Chicago. They've won, I think, 4 in a row now. Green Bay's really good. The Lions are very good. The Patriots are very good. Then you hit your bye week. So there are tough games coming up. The Giants will not be the Giants won't be even close to being favored in any game coming up. Like, if I had to guess these spreads right now as we sit here, it's Philly +7 right now. You could see that one. I would say the Niners will still be favored by like maybe 3.5 on the road against the Giants. I guess it depends how healthy they are, but I think regardless, whether it's 2.5 or 3.5, I think the Niners will be favored. At Chicago, I think Chicago should be favored by 4.5 maybe. Giants hosting Green Bay, I would still say Green Bay's favored by 5.5 or 6. At Detroit, I mean, they might be favored by 9.5 points or something. Like, playing there is so tough, of course. And then at New England, I would still expect New England to be favored by 4.5, 5.5 or something. So yeah, I mean, the Giants won't be close to being favored in any game coming up, but they've at least kept these games close. Like today, they were plus 8.5 when it closed, and they should have won the game easily. So I guess it's possible, but looking at this ESPN win probability crap and seeing that they were 99.8% to win this game and have it not go their way is just unbelievable. So it is what it is, though. It's what the Giants do. So, I mean, hopefully when I come back and talk to you guys next week, there's better stuff to talk about. But it's going to be a tough game. So we'll see what happens. And it should have been a win. It should have been a win. And the Giants should honestly have 4 wins at this point, and they're still stuck with 2. So it is what it is, and you are what your record says you are. So yeah, I will talk to you guys next time.